Hello, it's Fancy. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing something a bit different from what I usually do, and that's drawing based on prompts. This is kind of like those drawing challenges where you have a prompt for each day you draw. Kind of like Inktober, except for this one I'm just doing one prompt one time. I think I thought of doing this sometime around 2 years ago. Yeah, back in the beginning of 11th grade. That's a long time to be putting this off, and I'm just getting to this now. Typical me. Anyways, the prompt for this one was Fairy Queen. In fact, I think it was Fairy Queen on her throne, to be specific, but I think just Fairy Queen is fine anyways. Yup. I did not want to draw a throne. Anyways, I forgot what generator I used to get this prompt actually. I'm pretty sure I just went to Google Chrome and looked up random drawing prompt generator and just used whatever worked. There are dogs barking outside, so apologies if you can hear that. They are really noisy whenever I try to record. But yeah, this was one of the 3 prompts I had generated, but it's the only one I worked on for this, since it's the prompt with which I got a more illustration kind of idea, rather than just a doodle or a simple artwork. Getting into this artwork now. I do not have a fairy character, let alone a fairy queen, so I pretty much just made a random fairy character without putting much thought into it. But there is one thing that I really wanted this character to have, and that is the green skin tone. If you've seen the majority of my artworks, you've probably noticed that I don't really play around with a lot of different skin tones, and that's something I definitely want to change gradually. I want to play around with more different colored skin tones. And I've also never played around with fantastical skin tones before. And I thought this fairy would be the perfect opportunity for that. So I definitely wanted our fairy queen here to have that green skin tone. Why green specifically? Well, I honestly don't know. That's just the first thought I got for the design. I will admit though, other than the green skin tone, I had no idea what I was doing for the majority of the time. When I say I struggled with this piece, I struggled. I don't even know where to begin with this, but let's give this a shot. First, the overall composition for this piece. The original sketch from back in 11th grade did not have this kind of composition, and this landscape orientation was not the original idea I had either. Here's how the sketch from 2 years ago looked. I didn't really go with that since I figured it would take more time, since it's a full body piece essentially, and I have more artworks to work on, so I ended up going with something that isn't a full body. This is more like a bust up piece. I was just going to have this be in a portrait orientation like the previous artwork I made. But when it came to me drafting this out on paper for a new layout, I figured this landscape orientation might actually make sense for this piece. Mainly having her towards the side with a little magical water bird on the other side, which I'll get into later. I thought about the rule of thirds for the composition of this, without actually using the grid though, which I think did help me get this piece put together in terms of the sketch and the layout somewhat decently. And remember that part of the prompt where it says the fairy queen has to be on her throne? Well, I tried that, but I think I failed somewhat. The background for this is supposed to be the petals of a pink flower, because fairies are small and I wanted it to seem like she was sitting on a flower, so that would be her flower throne basically. But then again, I don't think that reads pretty well without drawing her lower half. Oh well. Going back to that bird, I wanted her interacting with a bird specifically, but again, fairies are small and I did not want to draw a giant bird for this. So I thought, since this is fantasy anyway, how about making a magical small bird out of a drop of water? I like that idea, so I decided to go for it. Besides, it's like she's interacting with nature and animals in a fun way. So that's the idea. Everything from her dress to her hair and other accessories is pretty simple. And I didn't have too much of a hard time sketching everything out. I did have some random references of flower crowns to the side of the canvas though, just to guide me through the sketching process. What I did have trouble with though was getting the flat colors done. I struggled, and struggled is already a big understatement. I swear, I probably redid the colors for this no less than 5 times or so. At first, I wanted her hair to be a darker green, because nature. But then I thought maybe pink and her outfit could be pink too, or maybe even purple, because purple is associated with royalty, right? And then it all spiraled from there into this huge mess of trying out different colors and shades to get something to make sense. And by the time I thought I had the colors down, I wasn't really feeling it, so I used the hue adjustment on Krita to adjust everything. And then I spiraled into another messy spiral of messing with the colors. I spent like an hour coloring this, not liking it, coloring it again and changing the colors, then changing it again. It was pure chaos. I ended up having to leave it for a bit to eat dinner, and by the time I got back to working on it again, I thought, okay, there's just too many colors here. I'm just going to make it so it's green and pink and ditch the purple altogether. How did I reach that conclusion? Well, as I was washing dishes, my brain decided to finally cooperate and conjured up an image of a green fairy with a green dress and pink hair. Oh my god, I do not like coloring. I prefer line art since I can basically turn my brain off and just follow the sketch. Though I do know a lot of people who prefer coloring and say it's relaxing. I don't know, it is not relaxing to me, and I end up using too many brain cells to figure out the colors. I think at some point I really should try just making a smaller version of the sketch and then messing around with the colors on a smaller scale so I could pretty much have it all figured out by the time I'm actually getting into the flat colors. I think that would save me a whole lot of time, and I think it's kind of like coloring in tiny thumbnails of the artwork. I should probably do that sometime. Maybe for the next illustration I will. Once I did eventually get the flat colors done though, it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. Oh, and I nearly forgot the wings. My sister went into my room as I was coloring this and said, "Oh, it's a fairy," or something like that, I forgot. And then, just then, I remembered that fairies have wings. So I added that in last minute. I do like how the wings turned out here, though I do think I could have made it better if I didn't nearly forget about it at the last minute. You know, if I actually planned how the wings would be shaped and what kind of pattern. Is it called a pattern? Like the little vein things. I was planning on it having basically inspired by like leaves, and you can see like the little leaf veins. I wanted to do that with the wings, but I nearly forgot, so I had to just do something else, something simpler that I could add in last minute. But yeah, that is this fairy queen piece. I don't think I've struggled with a piece this much in a while, so wow, this was a challenge. Despite everything though, I do kind of like how it turned out, now that I've gotten through the war of making it. This was quite a challenge, and I won't be doing it again anytime soon. Mainly because I have other artworks planned that I want to draw. But what about you guys? Have you done a similar prompt challenge before? And if so, what did you make? I'd love to hear in the comments. With that, this piece is done. You can get this fairy queen illustration as a print if you like, and a bunch of other products as well. The links where you can get some of those will be in the description below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this one, and I hope you stick around for any other artworks I make. Leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing definitely helps me out. In fact, you could do all of those right now and earn my eternal gratitude. And maybe even a magical bird of your own. I might make more little birds like the one here. Who knows? With that, I hope you all have a very great day and take care.